What's up and welcome back to Cleats to Whistle podcast. I am Brad Valdez. Today is episode 5 and we have Josh Abell from Fern Creek High School. Is that how you say your last name?
Yeah, it's
Abell. Okay, all right. Josh Abell, Fern Creek head coach here in Louisville, Kentucky. Is there anything, before we start, is there anything that you want to promote, like a fundraiser or anything, just to get your, just to promote something?
Sure, I'll take the bait. Yeah. If you're at Churchill Downs for Kentucky Oaks and Kentucky Derby, go see our people at the Paddock Grill. There you go. We'll be stationed up there. We pour the drinks heavy.
Yeah, that's what we like to hear too. We're just gonna jump into the podcast right now, trying to make this about 15-20 minutes. Let's do this. Let's give him the proper applause first. Let's get the applause going. So with you, did you grow up in Louisville, or?
Yeah, no, I grew up in Louisville. Lived in Newburgh for most of my childhood. Went to Newburgh Middle School, that kind of stuff, and then I manual graduate from I think 2004. I think it's 2004 I graduated. After manual, then I went to small Division II school named Kentucky Wesleyan College.
Really?
Played my ball there and did education, and then I did a couple stints at a few different places outside of Louisville before I decided to come back home. So I've been back ever since. Nice.
And what position did you play when you played ball?
I was all offensive line.
Really?
O-line guy. Yeah. I thought I was a defensive lineman for a couple years in high school. And didn't have a defensive bone in the body, as they say, so they moved me over to offense for a little while. So.
Got you. Now, was there a certain number that you wore, and did they have a meaning behind it?
So, long story short, I wore 93 my sophomore year of high school, and my coach at the time just didn't really think too much about it. Well, the starting center got hurt, and so right before we played South Oldham on the Wave 3, back when they would actually broadcast the games, they throw me out there, and the referee says, "Hey, he can't play with his number." So there was a guy named he called himself Fat Rob.
Okay.
And he referred to himself in the third person. And so Fat Rob makes an announcement for everybody. He goes, Fat Rob is going to exchange his jersey with Abell. So then he gave me, I think it was 67. So I played in 67 for that one game. When I came back, the only open 60s number was 69, and that's what I used.
There you go. That's the golden number right there. Everybody likes that number.
I always tell people I didn't pick that one on purpose, man. That wasn't me.
Oh, that's a great story, man. I love that story. That's a unique story. Yeah.
Fat Rob.
Dang! Shout out Fat Rob.
Hope you're doing well, buddy.
Yes. Man, that's a great story. But did you have any mentors growing up?
Yeah, my dad did youth sports. He was the president of a youth sports league over at Highview for most of my childhood.
Really?
So I was surrounded with a bunch of guys that were, little league coaches and youth league coaches, things like that. So, a couple of guys that stick out of my mind. Don Hillerick was always a guy in my ear, taught me a lot of stuff. Taught me how to long snap, which is what essentially got my Kentucky Wesleyan in my phone. A guy named Dennis McDonald, who his son Daniel McDonald is the head coach over at Providence.
Got you.
Dennis is good people. So yeah, I had several guys, but I think obviously my parents are the ones that kind of inspired me to get into coaching a little bit.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And that was going to be my next question. Did you have a good home upbringing? And that's pretty cool because I didn't have one. So when I hear coaches, you know what I mean, and you're instilling that in your kids, and that's awesome. I actually walked up and I seen your numbers. I'm like, man, you guys got pretty good numbers here, man. But they're beautiful kids, man, too. You got size, you got everything here, man. It looks pretty enticing around here.
We have this is my 10th season as head coach. I got here in 2010 as an assistant, and we've never been short of skill players. Skill players walk the halls. What we don't have a lot of is the size, and so in today's day and age of the R word, right? Those big boys get scooped up by these other schools. And so you've got to do what you can. And I tell people this all the time. There's a state championship team in that building. If those guys came out to play ball, right, knew how to do the right things on and off the field. But some of the size that's in that building is just that they're big because they're lazy. They don't do nothing.
Oh man, that's what you're trying to fight, huh?
Right.
You're trying to fight that, man, and that's the whole frustrating thing. I know because where I've been, we've always had size, but it stays in the building and don't come out to the field.
That's exactly right.
Oh man, that's so horrible, man.
Yep.
Man,
there's a kid that's a sophomore. He sticks out, man, like a sore thumb, but it's not a sports kid. And you can tell that he doesn't do anything else, and I don't know if anyone's ever encouraged him to do that. But like I said, that's pretty common, that the size of walks to the building, they just don't walk on the field.
Yep. And you said you were an assistant here. How long were you an assistant?
So I was an assistant here. I always get this confused. I was assistant, I think, for 2 seasons before I was given the main job. I started my coaching career in 2008, right out of college, back at Manual with my coach, with Coach Nichols. I was there for 2 seasons. Things went down there, and then I stuck around for 1 more season with Oliver Lucas, and then Coach Nichols got the job over here. It just so happened that there was a teaching job that opened at the same time. So I actually got the teaching job before he and I really even talked about the football piece. Wow. So it was all she wrote from there. So, he wasn't one of my younger mentors. I obviously looked up to him when I played ball, but he was a defensive coach and I played offense, right? So, but I did learn a lot from him, in terms of coaching as well.
And who was that?
Joe Nichols.
Yeah. And who was the other guy? The other one?
Oh, I'm sorry, Emmanuel. It was Dr. Lucas, Oliver Lucas.
Yeah, Oliver Lucas. Now, did he have any like guide you anywhere?
Yeah, he was always he liked to coach coaches, and that's one thing I liked that I took from him. And both with Dr. Lucas and with Coach Nichols, when you're a young coach, you learn a lot of what to do, and then you figure out what things you don't want to do and what you necessarily don't believe in. And as an assistant coach, you back them up and you do the things you're supposed to do, and you buy in. But then when you take over something, you say, "Look, I was going to do it differently because I don't necessarily believe in that or this," But Dr. Lucas, and he did a great. He had several of the guys that were on his staff that ended up being head coaches other places here in town, and he had a huge pedigree, of football. So I learned a lot from both guys. I just happened to be with Dr. Lucas just that 1 season.
Oh, okay, yeah, because I was just at Atherton, and Anthony White was over there, and he mentioned them, So that's pretty cool. Is you hear names, and you're like, man, I want to put a face to this guy. Just because he I guess he had a lot of pull with a lot of guys and put a lot of, He just brought them under their wing and was a great dude.
And you're talking, this is 2010. He comes from an outside group. He was from. He coached Cordell Stewart at Colorado.
Oh, okay.
That was like one of his claim to fame. Had the rings, the Big 12
nice,
all that kind of stuff. And being the first, black head coach at Manual was another big deal, right? And so, his impact was certainly felt. And the same thing goes with Coach Nichols. He had a tremendous impact. He coached Tommy Williams over at PRP.
Okay.
Right. He was on staff with us. Coach Stoner played for Joe Nichols, Coach Stoner at Manual now. So, it's amazing how it goes. And I just hope that one day that, the coaches that coach for me are in the same position, that they're out branching out and doing other things. That's what I really hope.
And that's what that was my next question to you is, do you take pieces from each coach and try to install it in yourself? And also, are you pulling anybody in that could, that you mentor?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and this is you're going to open a big can of worms here. Man.
No, that's fine, man. I love it. I just want to hear you.
No, yeah. So yeah, absolutely. For a long time, the guys that were on my staff were guys that I played with, grew up with, right? Even I keep mentioning Coach Hillerick. He coached me at Manual. I grew up with his sons, that kind of situation. Ronnie and Donnie Stoner played with him at Manual, all that kind of stuff. And now that's to the point where I've done this stuff so long that I've got several of my kids that played for me that are now men with children and mortgages that are coaching for me now, coaching with me. So that's probably been the biggest reward that I can tell you is that I've had up to 6 or 7 guys that I coach that have found themselves back in the coach's office. And, you know, a big part of that is that Fern Creek is such a community school, right? Guys want to come back here. The school, the community means a lot to them. They don't want to go coach other places. And several of these guys were being, you know, poached from other schools to come coach. And they said they want to stay home. So can't beat that.
Yeah, I actually was here. I didn't. We played against you guys. I was at Seneca. And, man, just the community, just the support that you have behind you, it's phenomenal, man. I love it. It gives me goosebumps, man, because I'm from a little city, and it's like 20,000 people. So Friday nights is the night. You know what I mean? We have, you know, 3,000 to 5,000 people in the stadium, and just, you know, it just brings you that chills, man, of Friday night lights. And when we walked in, I knew we were in for a battle, man, because you guys were slinging it around on us too. So, but I can't remember the quarterback. He was a big kid.
That would have been Isaiah Hester, I think. If it was 2018, that was Isaiah Hester. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I was just like, oh my goodness, man, he was big.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
Yeah,
that's right.
But now that's awesome that you say that you're a mentor and you're bringing guys in and all that. But what do you like your season last year? You went what, 4-7?
Yeah,
4-7. You went 1-2 in your district. But it was kind of crazy because I seen that you guys were actually better on the road. Well, you were 3-3 on the road, and you were 1-4 at home.
Yeah.
So it's kind of crazy that you say, you know what I mean? It's like,
well, it is funny that you bring that. There's one thing that I think that, and I think this happened in a lot of schools. I think that a lot of school spirit and participation was killed with COVID. And we've just been trying, I know me in particular, have been trying to just kind of ramp that stuff back up, that school spirit, the pride, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
You know, they were stuck in their houses for 18 months, and so their pride was with their neighborhood and not with their school. So that's one thing we've tried to kind of ramp up, and we're seeing improvements. And I think with this year's squad, we're going to see way more improvement. It's always about your senior class, right?
Yep.
It's always about your senior class. Last year, very, very small senior class, very small. You know, a couple popular kids, but you know, students are going to support the guys they like. They don't care if it's football or basketball or lacrosse or whatever.
Don't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Yep.
This group of guys here, there's a lot of them, and there's a lot of popular dudes, guys that are well liked in the school building that I think is going to bring out the rest of the school to support them. So it's very exciting times for us right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you do you have any memories as a player that you can recollect, like bring back and be like, man, I love this moment as a player?
A couple do stick out. My first snap in college, long snap, and we were at Virginia Wise, and they play in this little valley. It's a field really like in this dip, and it was like old school AstroTurf.
Oh, wow. The hard one.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
We played a noon kickoff, and the dew was still on the ground.
Yep.
And I go out there for our first snap or my first college snap, and boom, I get it. I'm like, all right, great. And I run downfield, and I get absolutely roached, man.
Oh.
My body was about 3 foot off the ground, parallel. I'm, you know, and I remember that because that was the welcome to football moment, and I know that because one of the guys that I looked up to when I came back to the his name was Ben Arnold, and he come back and he goes, "Welcome to football, Abell. Welcome to college football." Hey, all right, buddy. High school, my senior year, we had somewhat of a letdown of a season, but we had beat Trinity in overtime on a 2-point conversion, and I remember that. I think it was like 36, 35, something like that. It was wild.
Nice.
And we lost. I think we were 5-5 that year, and every game we lost was one score or fewer. I remember that. And then, of course, you can't play at Manual without bringing up Manual Mail. And so 2001 was a hell of a year for us. And I happened to be playing on that team. And I had 2 guys next to me, Travis Ackert and Kyle Coven, playing guards. Big dudes, man. And, you know, mean guys too. And I'm over there looking. I'm a sophomore. I don't know what's going on. I'm just out there playing ball. These dudes are just in tears as the clock is running down.
Yeah. It's
been so long since they beat Mail. And it was just a huge feeling. That there will always resonate with me for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I'm glad you brought up these memories, man, because it's just awesome to know how deep and passionate you are about it, man. You remember all these little moments. Yeah. But now, as a coach, did you have any accolades as a coach right now?
I'm sure that you can pick out some. I'm not big on the personal accolades. A head coach, in my opinion, is only as good as their staff. And so, back in 2015, I got the district coach of the year, and I put that in here. I don't have, anywhere else. And because that's a staff award. That's something that we did together. And that's what I tell these guys as well. And we've had some success, and I've got a pretty decent record here in the 10 years that I've been here, but I don't really pay attention to all that kind of stuff.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you just put it's team building, man. It's a team skill, and it's team building. And I walked up to the field today because you texted me. He was like, "Hey, I'm down here at the football field," and it gave me chills because when I walked in, I seen like a coaching staff that felt kind of gelled. Yeah, and that's awesome when you can just the head coach stand in front of your guys and be like, "Yo, this is what I expect." Plus, you had a pretty big day today, anyways. So that was probably just checking.
Well, and a lot of that deals with relationships, and this is something that you tell these guys every year, right? Football is a beautiful game because this year's team is going to look completely different from the following years, and it's ever so changing. But those relationships that you build will always be there.
Always.
And you tell these guys that if you only play high school ball, then you're gonna leave, remember a bunch of your high school teammates, whatever. And then the same thing happens when you play college ball. And so we gel together because those relationships exist. When I interview coaches, I don't really talk X's and O's. I don't put you on a board. If you know a little bit of the game, I can teach you the rest. Can you build relationships with the kids? And can you, like you said, can you mold with this group of guys? So it helps that, I got a guy that I've known since I was like 8 years old, on the staff. I've got some guys that have that played for me, like I said. And then another guy a couple of dudes have been here with me pretty much since I got here. So,
nice.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah. And any coaching memories that you have?
I'll give you two that I remember for sure. One good, one bad. I'll give you. My first year, 2014, playing Seneca. They had a really good team, and it's our first year hosting a playoff game in like however many years. So we were. And we chewed the hell out of the clock, okay? But we get down the red zone, and we struggle to put it in. And so at the end of the game, it's still pretty close, and it shouldn't be because, like I said, we've dominated up front. And a guy named Ed Jackson, who has been a real big mentor for me since I've been into coaching. He's 60. I think he's 70. I don't know. He's only mad at me, coach. I think he's 75. At the time, he was our offensive line coach, and I treat him like my coach and grandpa, right?
Yep.
And I'm on the headset, and I'm like, all right, what do you want to do? And he tells me what play. I said, no, they're going to jump the snap. We've been going on set. Let's do this, And so I followed his instructions, and it didn't work. And so I yelled at Coach Jackson. And I felt no sooner than I did, I felt this big. I was like, dude, why did you just yell at Coach Jackson, man?
Right,
It's not right. And after the game, he goes, yeah, that's not the first time I've been yelled at. We're okay. Like, you're the head coach. He said, if I get my feelings hurt from being yelled at, I shouldn't be out of here.
Right.
It made me feel better about it. But still to this day, I felt this big. Middle of the game, I get it. But, you tell the kids to keep their emotions in check. And here I am yelling at Coach Jackson. So the real good memory I have, we played a Covenant Catholic team in 2016 that I still think we had no business beating. But we had a phenomenal game plan. Our kids played hard. And there's a picture that sits I actually do have this one in my office at my house, where the sideline of kids is watching the last play, and every eye is fixated on what's going on. They had a goal-to-go situation as time was running out with no timeouts left, and defense actually, held it up. We were 30. I think the final score was 35-28. But I'll always remember that moment. And I actually looked over at the time and saw it. And that, it doesn't hit you then, but then you see that picture, and I'll always remember that because those kids ramped up, and like I said, we had no business. I mean, Covenant Catholic.
Yep.
Had the mayor kids that go to Notre Dame and all that, but we pulled it out, and it was that was one of my favorite coaching moments. Yeah.
Nice. I love it, man. It gives you chills, especially when you have moments. Yeah. You know what I mean, that you can look back and just see it. And man, but yeah, I actually walked up and he's like, give me a moment, coach. I got to go talk to my kids. And then the way that Coach Abell talks to his kids, it's real, and they feel, hey, they're locked eyes on you, man. And the few of them that I seen, they got a lot of respect for you, man, and that's what it's about, man.
Well,
it's just about them respecting you, and I can see the character that they got. You know, kids are going to be kids, you know what I mean? But when a coach talks to them and then they lock eyes and then they're all in, then that just tells you're building character here. So that's awesome.
Well, I appreciate that. You know, and you know how this is from your experience. I mean, some of these kids get a bad rap. It's public perception. It's the areas they live. It's what they look like. And at the end of the day, man, you know, I defend these dudes every day because they, you know, some of the teachers or maybe some of the community members, they don't see what we see.
Exactly.
They don't know these kids like we know these kids. And I think this group of guys just understands that, so they kind of meet me halfway with that stuff. They know that I'm there for them, and so they're here for me. And again, another reason why I want to be excited for this season because we do have a really good crew of dudes. There are some knuckleheads, guys that are not. Hey, a couple of guys that can't spell ACT right now. Okay, but we guys, but they're good. They're good dudes.
They're good kids, man. Yes, we are here at Fern Creek High School in Louisville, Kentucky, talking to Coach Abell. We have a couple more questions, and we'll get you out of here. Do you have any like hobbies outside? Or are you just a straight ball coach, man?
Well, if there's a hobby, the hobby that I have is a result of coaching football, which is pretty much landscaping. I've been out here taking
stress reliever.
I get on the mower, you know, and it's fun, you know. But I like that. You know, my wife and I love traveling, sometimes with the kids, sometimes not. We love traveling, going new spots. I'm somewhat of a foodie, and this is a great city to be a foodie in.
It is.
Know? And every time that we feel like we've checked every restaurant off the list, we've got another one popping up that we need to go check. And apparently I'm supposed to go check out Ricky B's. I haven't heard of that one yet. But
I haven't either. So no, I need to.
Yeah, well, he's a Fern Creek grad, and he wants to partner with some of our kids. And so I was like, hey, I'm going to go in there and check this out. But it's like a piano bar. I'm not
really?
Sure.
Yeah, well, I go right over here to 502 Melt.
Yeah.
Oh, man. That's shout out 502 Melt.
Right. That's it, buddy.
Yeah, it's right here. So this is two more questions.
Sure.
Your staff, and we talked about your staff a little earlier. How are you going to bring? How are you calling defense, offense, or do you have that delegated out?
I'm lucky enough that this year I've done it before. I've called both. I don't like it. I want to be able to manage, you know. But there's a rhyme and reason every decision the head coach makes. Sometimes I felt like it would be damaging to a particular coach if I asked that guy to call offense or defense or whatnot.
Right.
This season, I'm able to kind of step back like I wanted to a couple years ago, or like I used to a few years ago, where I don't have to call one side or the other, and I can kind of dabble. And I'm an O-line guy, and if you're an O-line guy, you know that you're always an O-line guy. So that's what I kind of gravitate towards. But guy can't be here, work, kid sick, whatever. That I can float a little bit, and that helps me out. And the two guys that I think are coordinating this year are ready for this season.
Nice. That's exciting, especially when you can hands off a little bit. You can venture around and just make sure your coaches are doing what you want too.
I say this all the time. I think the couple of the teams that we had early on, if I wasn't calling offense at the time, I would have been able to see some things differently that may have helped that outcome. So, I enjoy calling one side of the ball or the other, but, my responsibility is full game management, and that's what I think I need to do. Yeah.
Yep. Now, is there any players that you would want to spotlight coming back?
Yeah, and this is there's no secrets. I mean, it is what it is, and I've told any college or media guy, hey, if we're not successful, then I need to get fired, because we do have some good dudes that can play some ball. We've got guys that pass the look test. You saw some of that size out there.
Oh, yeah.
So the number one college prospect we got is Ramari Taylor. He's got 4 or 5 different, primetime offers. Ball State was here to see him just yesterday. He's DB, long, knows how to play man-to-man. He's a good player. He's a good athlete. Tim Cherry is going to spearhead the offensive line. He's another big kid with good feet. Got a couple 25s that'll turn some heads just because of their size, And then, like I said, the senior class is really going to be what molds the squad together. So there's Landon Edwards, who's going to play pretty much all over the field. There's Josiah, which we talked about earlier. You saw him a little bit. Josiah Eubanks is going to be a solid player for us. And then we'll have a lot of role guys. You know, we got a new kid out from the basketball team, and he's shown some stuff. And we haven't had many basketball players come out in quite a while.
It's tough. I'm going to jump in real quick. This is a basketball crazy city. So if you're in Louisville, basketball is going to lock these kids down.
Exactly right. And I'm still interested to see how the summer will play out with AUs and travel and all that kind of tournaments and whatnot. But he had a great spring, so we're excited to see what he's going to bring to the table. I mean, I can go on and on and on, but, you know, in terms of the guys that you're going to see in the headlines, it's those two, you know, Tim and Ramari. You'll see those guys in the headlines, and then Travis Moten and then Patrick Carr are, again, because you can't coach size.
Nope.
These guys are 6'4" and 6'5", nope. So you just try to develop them into the studs they should be and let the rest kind of handle it as is.
Yep. So this is Coach Abell here at Fern Creek High School. This is Cleats to Whistle podcast. I'm so happy that we linked up and got hooked up and you're in the pod now. Yeah. So, but I just want to say thank you very much for being on the pod. Cleats to Whistle podcast. Like I always say, everyone has a story. I'm here for them to tell it. Cleats to Whistle podcast.